Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel, thank you. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Perfect World based on novel. So let's start. Yoon 11 thought back. She knew that the youth that was known to be undefeated back then should be forever buried in the lower realm. It was impossible for him to appear again. Her eyes flashed. She looked at Shahao in front of her. Just now, it was precisely this youth that helped her, dissolving the terrifying heavenly deity light. It was only because of this that she was able to quickly recover. I must ask you for your name. I am truly thankful for what you did just now. Yoon 11 looked towards Shahao, feeling quite curious towards this youth. His age wasn't great, but his strength was quite unordinary. Mo 11. Shahao said, saying this name. He also told her that she didn't have to be so polite, because it wasn't that big of a deal. Yoon 11 was shocked. The expression on her fine jade-like face was a bit unnatural. Her brightly colored small mouth was slightly opened. She felt that this was quite strange, because this person's name was quite similar to her own. The young devil King Huang is so formidable. Could it be that this chaos was stirred up because of him? The others were still discussing this. Forget about everything else. Just the glory of killing exceptional talents and defeating immortal palaces inheritor was already enough to produce a huge sensation. This kind of person would definitely rise up in the higher realms, becoming a heavenly genius that was definitely going to stir up great chaos. Many people thought that this disaster was related to him. I wonder what kind of background those two golden sheets have to make even heavenly deities jealous. It has to be a priceless treasure. People like us should not concern ourselves with this type of thing. Someone who even killed exceptional talents, without remorse, will definitely throw the higher realms into chaos. Even now, several tens of provinces are already greatly shaken. Shahao listened carefully. He never expected the effects to be so far great and far-reaching. Everyone was extremely nervous along the way. No one knew what was going to happen. They were already in the depths of the blood plains, yet they could still vaguely see the formation and symbol light in the distance. This was precisely what a heavenly deity was capable of. Once one took action, mountains would collapse and seas would roar. A single hand from that silver-robed man suppressed several tens of thousands of experts. It really is too formidable, Shahao said to himself. He sighed lightly. It is because he is a heavenly deity. His achievements are extraordinary, putting him far above everyone else, allowing him to overlook all creatures. Yoon 11 said, heavenly deity, this kind of powerful existence normally remained in isolation. They normally wouldn't lightly interfere with the rest of the world. They were all studying the path of immortality, seeking the road of undying. Are you going to enter the city? Yoon 11 asked. Shahao nodded. He felt that stopping here for some time might be safer. Otherwise, someone might very well target him along the way. I am entering the city too, said Yoon 11. She had a feeling that the disturbance this time was terrifying, and that things were definitely not going to be settled just like that. The road ahead would likely be even more dangerous. When they reached this city, many people chose to continue moving instead of stopping. They hoped to leave these blood plains a bit earlier. There were some that were frightened and decided to stay here for some time. Several days later, Shahao went on his way again, because he heard some news that after the great battle between heavenly deities, both sides suffered with neither side winning. Things seemed to have ended. Despite this being the case, everyone was still extremely cautious and careful when they left the city. The price of mercenaries shot up during this period of time, because no one was willing to rashly take risks. Fortunately, in the following half-month, it was comparatively more calm, without any dangers happening. Due to being sealed by a great formation, they still hadn't made it through these hundreds of thousands of li of blood plains. There was still some time left before they would make it out. I feel like you are quite familiar. Yoon 11 looked at the youth beside her. Now that they had traveled together for some time, they could be considered acquaintances. Could it be that we met before? Shahao pretended to be surprised. He told her that he was someone from Demon Province, and had always cultivated with his master in the mountains, so he rarely came out. After being with you for some time, I feel a strange sense of déjà vu. I think we might have met before. Yoon 11 shook her head. Her hair fell downwards. There's another 100,000 or so li left before we reach Heaven Province. I really hope nothing bad happens. This old one's heart cannot take it. To actually end up going through a heavenly deity attack at this age, an elder who wore black feather clothes spoke. His voice was hoarse, as if a duck was crying outwards. Old crow, why did you open your mouth again? Please don't jinx us. I've noticed that your race really are messengers of death. Any bad things you all say really do happen. There were those that were nervous and said this half-jokingly. How could that be? The elder who wore black feathered clothes' expression froze when he spoke up to hear. He gazed into the distant skies. Meanwhile, in the surroundings, everyone's expressions went rigid, and their hearts became anxious and frightened. A terrifying figure was flying towards this place, forming an absolutely shocking scene. Before sound even reached this place, the person itself had already arrived. The aura being exerted was terrifying, oppressing everyone to the point of suffocation. When it got closer, the figure suddenly stopped. Powerful winds swept out, continuing to blow forward. Many people cried out in alarm as they were swept up into the sky. Then, they were directly torn apart into bloody mist. In addition, large cracks extended into the distance along the great earth, stretching in this direction. These were all brought about by that figure, created by the powerful fluctuations. Only now did a terrifying rumbling sound reach everyone's ears like thunder. It made heaven and earth tremble. This really was just too horrifying. Heavenly deity. It was clear that another heavenly deity descended, appearing here. It was extremely frightening. Heavenly deity above, may I ask who your distinguished self is searching for? We are willing to help you. A few people were scared badly, immediately saying these things. They didn't wish another tragedy to play out. Not long ago, that silver-robed heavenly deity had killed several tens of thousands of creatures. Meanwhile, this heavenly deity was similarly terrifying. Just flying here resulted in the death of 1,000. Who dared to fight against this? I am looking for celestial races, young one. The creature in the void spoke coldly. Shahao sighed inwardly. As expected, it came for Yunshi's group. Everyone was shocked. They were looking for trouble with the celestial race. One had to understand that the celestial race was extremely terrifying. A long time ago, it was ranked among the 10 most powerful creatures. They had overlooked countless races in the higher realms, one of the true emperor races of the 3,000 provinces. Of course, that was a thing of the archaic past. Only the few clans that were ranked at the very forefront had the qualifications of calling themselves emperor clans. In the present age, even though the celestial race were no longer as incredible, it was still terrifying. Its backing was deep, and no one was willing to provoke them. Rumors had it that there was an old celestial race individual that was still alive from the archaic era in this race. This individual could intimidate all 3,000 provinces. That old celestial had experienced the race's most glorious emperor clan era, basically a living fossil. Celestial race. A clan that can change one from man to heaven. You all want to recreate your glory from the archaic era. It is impossible this time. The voice of the heavenly deity in the void was extremely cold. Everyone's heart trembled. They thought of a legend. The reason the celestial race had this name was because when evolved to the limit, a man to heaven would take place, displaying an extreme transformation of life. As expected, the legend was true. The celestial race in this era went looking for the heaven's mandate stones to create several exceptional experts to change from man to heaven. The so-called heaven change was related to this. The celestial race wanted to recreate their past glory and accomplish the emperor clan legend. Meanwhile, for the inheritances that had grudges against this race, they were definitely against this. They were trying to stop this from happening, and this was the reason for the so-called heaven change operation. You still aren't coming out. Above the blood plains, the heavenly deity stood there alone, overlooking everyone below. When she spoke up to this point, her aura changed completely, crushing down on everyone's minds like a great mountain. Senior, it is not something related to us. Some people were scared, fearing that she would unleash a great slaughter. In mid-air, a low barbaric ox roar sounded. Then, black energy billowed outwards, the sound waves shaking the world like heavenly thunder as it resounded through these plains. The black ox head on the heavenly deity's left shoulder opened its eyes and roared. It was incomparably terrifying. There were actually black ripples spreading outwards and shaking the void. Many people cried out loudly. There were several thousand people in the prairie below, but at this moment, many of those figures exploded into bloody mists under that barbaric ox's roar. This type of scene was too terrifying. Black ripples spread outwards, and sound waves shook the skies. In the blink of an eye, 3,000 bodies exploded, losing their lives then and there. There were still some who were living, but they were bleeding from their 7 apertures. They were all doing everything they could to resist, quite a few of them deities. In the end, however, it was still not enough. This was like hell on earth. Not even divine flame realm experts were enough. The divine flames around their bodies went dim, and then they were extinguished. Their bodies and souls both exploded. Shahao originally wanted to put on the tattered armor, and use the earth shrinking into inches divine ability, as well as release the heavenly river's curse, but he found that symbol light appeared around him. There were a few experts that held secret treasures, protecting this place. Meanwhile, Un-11 even grabbed him, pulling him into the protection of these symbols. 11 why are you pulling him over? An elder frowned. Pulling an outsider in could result in many unforeseen accidents. He has saved me before, said Un-11. She had Shahao stand in the symbol light, and not leave the cover of the secret treasure. The experts didn't say anything. From their perspective, how could this be considered saving? However, they didn't want to bicker on this topic either. Their expressions all became grave as they looked into the sky. Ha ha. There really was some fish that escaped the net. It seems like I made the right decision in coming here. The heavenly deity in the sky spoke, carrying a sternness and coldness. Earlier, she wasn't sure, but now, her suspicions had been confirmed. Senior, you are just willfully slaughtering the innocent and massacring indiscriminately. Do you not fear the disrupting the harmony of heaven? An elder from the celestial race said, if you all stood out earlier, wouldn't it have been fine? The 3-headed heavenly deity said coldly. At her cultivation realm, she could do whatever she desired. She didn't concern herself with this at all. She stared at Un-11, and then she smiled faintly. In an incomparably cold manner, she said, the heaven's mandate stone is on your body, merging with you. However, I should still be able to extract it. There wasn't a single person on the scene whose expression didn't change. This heavenly deity was ruthless, wishing to seize natural luck and ruin another's foundation. This time, your celestial race's harvest isn't small at all. In the archaic past, your race collected 6 heaven's mandate stones, promoting 6 individuals' lives to the peak. In this world, you all unexpectedly obtained 4 of them, similarly astonishing. However, the result is completely different, because you all will not be given the time to grow up, and it will be difficult for the celestial emperor race to reappear. Senior, by slaughtering like this and bullying the weak, do you not fear retaliation? My celestial race's ancient ancestor is still alive. An elder shouted, are you threatening me? Are you saying that one of the 6 great celestials of the archaic era that had evolved to the pinnacle is still alive? You should stop trying to put up such a front. Ha ha, the woman laughed, and then her eyes became cold. I already received news that it is impossible for him to appear. He cannot intimidate the world any longer. My ancient ancestor will revive. An old woman shouted loudly. When Shahao heard this, he was greatly shaken. There was unexpectedly one of the 6 great celestials from the era of celestial race's emperor clan still alive, but there seems to be some problem with him. Heaven's mandate stone can only merge with the body of a youth. If these 4 young geniuses are not eliminated, 4 unmatched celestials will be born. This type of situation cannot be allowed to take place. The female heavenly deity's voice was cold. The other 3's paths might be difficult to meddle in, but this one is destined to be easily destroyed. When she spoke up to this point, she raised a palm, and then she slowly pressed downwards. Her sparkling white jade hand released multicolored light, shaking the entire great earth until it collapsed. Rubble flew everywhere. The divine flames around the remaining several hundred people's bodies were wiped out, and their bodies crumpled apart inch by inch, losing their lives here. This type of scene was too terrifying. He was incomparably calm. It was just a palm that lightly descended, yet this type of terrifying scene of the great earth sinking was produced. In addition, that hand alone wiped out groups of deities. The celestial race were here. Sounds of the secret treasure cracking rang through the air. The few great experts couldn't hold on anymore. They weren't this individual's opponent at all, because in the end, She was a heavenly deity, martial ancestor, where are you? Please hurry and display your might. Several old celestials shouted. Hand over your life. The celestial race expert roared. Even though he was dried and shriveled, his divine force was matchless. He was a heavenly deity as well. He brandished the mace about, smashing the void until it began to smash apart. Rumbling sounds rang through the air. At this moment, the mountain peaks in the distance were like rice straw. Under the fluctuations of the world-shaking divine force, they flew high into the sky, as if they were light as a feather. Kill. The heavenly deity that had 3 heads retaliated. She reached out a lotus-like arm. Her entire body erupted with divine radiance to suppress and kill the celestial race's heavenly deity. You all should hurry up and go. The celestial race elder that held the divine mace spoke as he held off the female heavenly deity. It's useless. Unless some of the other 3 groups succeed in breaking out, all 4 groups will be completely wiped out. At the very least, your group is done for. The female heavenly deity said coldly, not bad, the celestial on this route can be killed. A pitiless voice sounded. The silver-robed heavenly deity appeared again. In his hands was a shining spear. Silver light began to erupt all around him. The aura was terrifying, and the divine might was world-shaking. My celestial race has declined, but it is still an undying inheritance, not a power just anyone can go against. Right at this moment, another figure appeared in the distant skies. It was a purple-haired middle-aged individual. Interesting, there are 2 heavenly deities on this route, but it is still not enough. You all are still going to die. The silver-robed heavenly deity roared and rushed forward. A world-shocking battle erupted. 2 pairs of heavenly deities were fighting a life and death battle. They were all fighting with everything they had. Hurry and leave. The celestial race's 2 great heavenly deities ordered. It was because they felt that things were not going to end well. There were many demonic figures in the distance. There were unexpectedly large groups of experts that surrounded this place. These people couldn't interfere with the heavenly deities' battle, but they now had people who were strong enough to hold off these heavenly deities. The celestial race heavenly deity that held the great mace fought the 3-headed woman while sending out a palm to blast a group of demonic figures to death. In addition, he grabbed out towards Yunshi's group, and then he flung them into the distant sky. This was a great escape. Shahao felt a wave of speechlessness. He was unexpectedly swept along, unable to leave on his own even if he wanted to. It was because he heard a few secrets that he shouldn't have heard. The expressions of the experts guarding Yun-11 were not pleasant, clearing having the urge to kill him to prevent the secret from getting out. However, they were stopped by Yun-11. Hurry up and leave. You must return alive. One of Celestial Race's experts turned around to look at the great battle, his face full of worry. He didn't know if his clan's 2 heavenly deities could win. They had to deliver Yun-11, who had merged with the Heaven's Mandate Stone back. Or else all of their efforts would have been in vain. I wonder how the other 3 groups are doing. They were also worrying about the other 3 geniuses that merged with Heaven's Mandate Stone. It was difficult to predict life or death. Clan Elder, do not worry. My race will definitely be able to reproduce its past glory, said Yun-11. Unfortunately, reality was too cruel. A roar of anger sounded soon after from the rear. One of the celestial race's heavenly deities self-destructed. Blood dyed the skies. The battle was ended in such a bitter and miserable manner. The great battle of heavenly deities ended. One of them self-destructed, and the blast wave affected both friend and foe. The nearby experts were all gravely injured. The heavenly deities that are alive all went into hiding to treat their injuries. They will not come chasing after us for some time. They will fear being killed by others too. An elder beside Yun-11 spoke. Blood splashed high into the air. Celestial Race's elder's right hand spurted out blood, almost being hacked apart. When he raised his hair to look at the skies, he saw that a group of vicious birds appeared overhead. They were of different races, but were all extremely powerful. Escape. This was a great pursuit. Shahao cursed inwardly towards his bad luck. Everything was fine originally, but he was actually swept along. It really was a bit against his will. Clan Elder, let him go. Just drop him off anywhere. Don't let them follow us anymore, Yun-11 said. It was because keeping Shahao at their side was the same as harming him. 2 days later, the two protectors died one after another, dying under the pursuit. They were both killed in battle. Yun-11 was injured as well, with half her body bleeding, almost having part of her vitals struck by the blade radiance that was released from a vicious bird's mouth. Meanwhile, Shahao, who was originally swept along, was in good health, recovering his freedom. Shahao sighed. He really was unlucky this time, strangely being swept up into this kind of chaos. However, he obviously couldn't just watch Yun-11 be killed. "Are you familiar with the blood plains?" he asked softly. He carried Yun-11 on his back while moving as fast as lightning, using the earth shrinking into inches withdrawal divine ability to speed along. "If there really is no way, then we can only charge into the bloody battlefield overflowing with yin energy and ghost matter," Yun-11 said softly. She was extremely dejected. The experts that were in charge of protecting her all unexpectedly died. During the following few days, they all struggled during this life and death escape, fearing that their pursuers would find them. This was especially true if the heavenly deities appeared, as they would undoubtedly die then. In the end, they had no choice. Shahao chose to enter the dangerous land. With Yun-11 on his back, he rushed into the roiling yin mists and separated himself from the outside world. Shahao carried Yun-11 on his back. As soon as they entered the roiling yin mist, they immediately saw a sinister-looking creature that resembled an orangutan, but its body was covered in pitch-black scales. Its eyes were crimson red, and deathly energy was spreading from its body. It immediately threw itself over. Its speed was too fast. Its 10 fingers all opened, its sharp claws a foot long like iron hooks. They were curved and released black light. Shahao stood in his original place. His right fist released a faint golden radiance as it blasted outwards. The two collided. It was as if metal struck against itself, releasing an extremely ear-piercing sound. This creature howled. Its figure flew backwards, drawing out a dark streak of light in the void. Its speed was just too fast, far surpassing that of normal supreme experts. Its arm was currently contorting in pain, with most of its jet-black nails snapped. Blood continuously flowed outwards. Its face was full of shock as it stared at Shahao. "This is an ape devil." Yun-11 was shocked. There were all types of vicious creatures in this ancient battlefield, but ape devils were extremely rare. However, they were also abnormally powerful. Sometimes, it would be hard to find a few in a battlefield covering over 10,000 li. Their flesh was sturdy like metal and unmovable. They were able to use their body to fight weapons. They could even more so bare-handedly break precious artifacts and destroy various divine abilities. Yun-11 revealed a look of shock. This ape devil's flesh was equivalent to that of a divine flame realm expert, and difficult to contend again, or at the very least, a supreme expert shouldn't be its opponent, yet the youth carrying her actually injured it with a single fist. This was just too shocking. Yin energy overflowed into the heavens. This ape devil opened its mouth and roared. Crimson mists surged, and then, after leaving behind an afterimage, it slaughtered over again. Its claws were jet black, distorting the void as they struck over. It was just too fast. Its body was like an arc of electricity, arriving in an instant. It was far more powerful than an ordinary expert at the supreme expert realm. It immediately arrived behind Shahao and struck towards the middle of Yunshi's back. Shahao shivered inwardly. He didn't turn around, however, like a scorpion's tail, his right leg lashed out in reverse. Then, it erupted with dazzling radiance as it collided with that ape devil's claw. The ape devil released a groan. One of its arms dripped with black blood, and there were a few pieces of sharp nails on the floor. It quickly retreated. It had a look of disbelief on its face. "Your body really is amazing," Yun-11 said, revealing a look of shock. The youth in front of her was powerful beyond her expectations. "Is this fella a divine-level expert?" Shahao revealed a serious expression. He didn't fear the other party's physical attacks, but he was wary of a powerful magical force attack. The ancient battlefield has yin energy everywhere, so the creatures that emerge are all rather strange. This ape devil's flesh is powerful and indeed in the divine flame realm, but it doesn't cultivate magical force, said Yun-11. "There are creatures like these." Shahao was amazed. Then, he completely relaxed. Since it turned out to be like this, what else was there to worry about? In the domain of physical prowess, he didn't even fear Immortal Palace's inheritor. However, it can defend against magical force to the point of near immunity. The path it has traveled on is one purely of body refinement. Unileven explained a step further, so formidable. Shahao was astonished. Shahao faced this attack head-on. His fist was slightly numb, feeling a bit of pain, but the opposing ape devil instead released a great cry. Its fist was in tatters and dripping with dark blood. It flew outwards. Shahao wanted to give chase, but he found that a trail of blood was left in front of him. The ape devil disappeared into the ancient battlefield with just a few flashes. Its flesh is so formidable. It took a punch from me but didn't explode. Shahao said to himself, feeling rather dissatisfied. Unileven was speechless. Not even exceptional talents could necessarily defeat such a powerful ape devil. The youth in front of her was a bit too arrogant. Your physical power is too shocking. You have to understand that this is an ape devil that reached the peak of the body refinement path. It is difficult for other creatures to compare to it in physical prowess, said Unileven. Her beautiful eyes erupted with divine multicolored light. She began to suspect whether the youth in front of her was a formidable exceptional talent. Otherwise, it would definitely be difficult for him to have this type of powerful constitution. One has to understand that the ape devil did not travel an ordinary body refinement path. This was an extreme path of evolution. Let's go. Either way, we already entered, so we should be a bit more careful. This ancient battlefield is quite sinister. Shahao said to himself, thank you. Unileven felt grateful. Her injuries were not light. If not for Shahao carrying her here, it would definitely be difficult for her to survive. Even though many tens of thousands of years had passed, there were still rotting spears, shields, and other things here. There were even skeletal remains of devils that were full of yin mists. It was a bleak and terrifying scene. Suddenly, Shahao turned around and looked backwards. He heard the sound of wings flapping. They caught up. He was talking about those vicious birds. They chased after them this entire way, among them no lack of divine-level experts. If not for him cultivating the earth with draw great divine ability, and borrowing the complex terrain to evade, they would have long been caught. Shahao pressed forward quickly, leaving behind a faint after-image. Then, he disappeared into the depths of this ancient battlefield. You can't escape. The leading vicious bird was entirely golden, and burning with fiery light. It was a 3-footed golden crow. Its race's innate skill was powerful. It was difficult for the yin energy to approach its body. There was a fire-cloud sparrow by its side as well that was scarlet red like blood. It similarly possessed a terrifying divine flame that burned the void until it distorted, pushing aside the yin mist. There was no lack of divine-level experts in this group of vicious birds. They belonged to the 100 Birds mercenary group. They received ample compensation to wipe out celestial races' descendants. They were quite famous in Demon Province. Perhaps they couldn't be considered the most powerful mercenary group, but they were extremely fast. If they were on a pursuit mission, few powers could compare to them. A lightning bird shone. A streak of lightning flew out as soon as it opened its mouth, blasting a shorter mountain apart. Smoke and dust flew in all directions. Things aren't looking too good. It will be difficult to break away from them. Shahao frowned. That's the ape devil's cry. Unileven was alarmed, and then its expression changed. What happened? Shahao didn't understand. Kill it. The group of vicious birds were furious. Wings took to the skies as they quickly chased after it. On the ground, a white-haired old ape devil suddenly leapt up, rushing several hundred jong into the air like a streak of black lightning. With a pu sound, it grabbed a vicious bird and tore it apart in the blink of an eye, courting death. The golden crow was furious. It spewed out flames and swooped down towards the old ape devil. Immediately after, demonic figures appeared in large numbers. They all shot out like arrows that left their bowstrings, rushing into the skies to erupt with divine might. Their bodies were sparkling and their flesh shining. Their bodies were powerful to the extent of making Shahao shiver inwardly. It was just an ancient battlefield, yet such a powerful body-refining expert appeared. In the sky, blood blossomed everywhere. They had just exchanged attacks, yet 7 or 8 vicious birds were shot down. Blood dyed the skies red, and brilliant feathers withered. Corpses continuously fell. Of course, When an old ape devil was targeted by the leading golden crow, it was injured as well. The so-called magical force immunity still had its limits. A unique tall and large ape devil roared. It leapt up and erupted with dark light. It faced the golden crow, using its flesh to scatter the other party's divine flames and symbols. This was a great battle. The 100 Birds mercenary group's vicious birds suffered greatly. This dangerous place filled with yin energy did not suit them. They had 11 experts killed, with 2 of them being divine-level creatures. Meanwhile, the ape devils miraculously didn't lose a single member. Only a single one was heavily injured and 2 of them lightly injured. Go. The golden crow and firecloud sparrow were both shocked. They ended up encountering this type of monster, who was practically immune to magical force. They felt a sense of helplessness. Even though they were angry, they still chose to back off. This place became quiet. Shahao was hidden in the distance, seeing everything clearly. His eyes shone with light, and grave waves stirred within him. A wave of heat was running through his entire body. This type of body refinement route, for him, was too enticing. If he could become immune to magical force, making it difficult for symbols to harm his flesh, his strength would increase sharply. What kind of path is this? Suddenly, a miserable howl tore through his line of thought. 9 ape devils turned into streaks of black lightning as they rushed over quickly to surround him. In that instant, Yunxi's heart skipped a beat. When she saw that brilliant smile and pure white teeth, for some reason, she felt suddenly unsettled. It was because she felt that it was a bit familiar. In the lower realm, there was someone who always had this type of confidence. I need to get to the bottom of this magical force immunity. For me, it is an extremely great path. Shahao said to himself. The 9 ape demons had powerful flesh. Right now, they all erupted with dark light. Their bodies became brilliant. The path they walked was one of body refinement, and all of them had terrifying auras. In that instant, they all threw themselves over. Their body techniques were shocking as they slaughtered towards Shahao. Immediately after, Shahao moved, collecting Yun 11 into a sparkling bone cauldron, eliminating his worries. Then, he erupted with power to face these opponents. A violent collision erupted. His fist and an ape demon's palm collided. Energy overflowed into the heavens, shaking this entire ancient battlefield. This was a divine flame realm ape demon that specially cultivated body techniques. Its flesh was powerful beyond imagination. However, Shahao took the strike, moreover not being disadvantaged after doing so. His hair flew about, and his eyes shone with radiance. The blood energy in his body surged. How powerful! The ape demon roared, feeling that this was inconceivable. Immediately after, demonic energy overflowed into the heavens. The other 8 ape demons arrived as well, doing everything they could to suppress and kill him. This was a bloody battle. When someone as powerful as Shahao entered this type of dangerous situation, even though it wasn't one of magical force, it was still a great life and death battle. Kill. Shahao's speed was too fast. His earth withdrawal divine ability was displayed. Even though the symbols were useless on the other party's body and would be resisted, he could still increase his own speed. In this struggle of life and death, he didn't hold anything back. His entire body surged with blood energy as he erupted with murderous intent. After over 100 exchanges, Shahao's eyes erupted with radiance. A fist smashed outwards, fast to the extreme as it chased after an old ape demon to blast it apart. In the confrontation with the golden crow, firecloud sparrow, and other vicious birds, this old ape demon suffered the most injuries, and had its fighting ability decreased greatly as a result. He now became Shahao's target. Shahao suffered a palm, 2 fists, and 3 claws from the ape demons. Blood splashed high up from his body, but he continued to press forward like before, slaughtering over to the old ape demon. His fist shone, becoming sparkling and translucent. It carried a faint golden color, its power increased to the limit as it smashed outwards. When the old ape took the hit, his arm bone snapped. It was blasted flying by that fist. Shahao jumped up and rushed over. His bones and muscles relaxed. Like a sharp sword, his right arm hacked down, and then with a pu sound, the old ape's head was removed. A string of black-colored blood splashed high into the air. The other 8 ape demons cried out loudly. They began to attack him fiercely, becoming even more terrifying than before. Kill. 150 attacks after, Shahao released a grunt. His fist passed through the chest of another ape demon, drawing forth large amounts of blood and killing him on the spot. Meanwhile, he himself suffered 2 claws, creating a blurry expanse of flesh that was dripping with blood. What happened to you? She quickly rushed over to lift Shahao up. This result left her shocked. Was this all done by him alone? I'm fine, just need some rest. Shahao was physically and mentally drained. He never thought that he would encounter such powerful ape devils in the ancient battlefield. It really was beyond his expectations. In terms of purely physical bodies, the 9 ape demons were definitely rare, and could be considered formidable opponents. You killed 6 ape demons alone. Yun-11 was utterly shocked. If news of this got out, it would definitely stir up a huge commotion. Someone at the Supreme Expert realm killed 6 divine-level ape demons that reached the extreme of body refinement. This was like something out of a fantasy, a legend. Barely killed them. What a pity that 3 got away. I'm not strong enough. After Shahao was supported up, he shook his head. This is too shocking. Even if it was an exceptional talent here, they wouldn't have this type of accomplishments, and would most likely fall. Yun-11 didn't know what to say. This was just too powerful. Her eyelashes trembled lightly, and her large eyes were full of a look of disbelief. Her white face was full of shock. This accomplishment was too incredible. 4 hours later, Shahao opened his eyes. His blood energy was surging greatly. Even though he couldn't immediately recover from his injuries, his strength had about recovered. Yun-11 used this time to treat herself as well. She ingested a precious pill, which improved her condition quite a bit. Let's go. We need to hurry and search the ape demon's nest while they are scared away to see if we can get anything good. Shahao was quite excited for this. The ancient battlefield was extremely large with mists coiling about it. They sat down in front of a stone cliff. This was the nest of an ape devil, and there were several caves on the cliff. Meanwhile, below the cliff were a few blood-colored medicinal herbs that were like red coral. They were sparkling and brilliant. A rich fragrance wafted out from them, blood soul grass. Yun-11 cried out in surprise. They unexpectedly discovered several dozen stalks. This type of precious grass was extremely precious, able to increase one's soul force. It was a specialty of these blood plains. How are these medicinal herbs used? Shahao asked. He came here to search for the secrets of the ape demon's magical force. It needs to be refined together with many other spiritual medicines to draw out its essence. After it is taken, it can nurture the soul, Yun-11 said. Shahao nodded. He leapt into the air, entering a cave on the cliff. He then carefully searched about. Even though there were a few strange things, it wasn't what he needed. Do you know why the ape devil is immune to magical force? Shahao asked. This was what he cared about the most. It is related to the fact that they always eat blood soul grass and golden body fruit. Yun-11 spoke about everything she knew, just that grass. Shahao's eyes shone. He walked to the bottom of the stone cliff and carefully looked around. There were over 50 stalks total. Every single one was a foot tall and sparkling with scarlet multicolored light, as if they were carved out of precious stones. Yun-11 explained a step further, saying, this type of thing, for other races, doesn't have as tremendous of a result. It is because the ape demon directly devours it, while we can only refine it with other medicinal herbs to absorb a bit of its essence. 80% of the medicinal characteristics are not suitable to other races. There is this type of thing. Shahao was astonished. The ape demon's constitution was special, able to directly ingest the blood soul grass, but this wasn't the case for other races. They couldn't absorb the medicinal characteristics. They could only absorb a portion of the useful essence. Yun-11 said, the so-called useless parts are the other 80% of the medicinal characteristics. For us, it is fatal, but for the ape demons, it is instead greatly beneficial. The higher realms were too large, and there were many races throughout the 3,000 provinces. There were going to be a few races that were strange or special, and it was precisely because of this that there were so many unique and varied races. It's fine, I'm just going to give it a try. Shahao didn't believe such a thing. Yun-11 became anxious. You cannot. There were many geniuses, who like you, weren't willing to accept this, wishing to obtain this type of ability. However, they all died after forcefully testing things. Not a single person has ever succeeded. Those people all died. Shahao's expression became grave. They are pretty much all dead, and there were even a few exceptional talents among them. After devouring several hundred stalks, they all unfortunately died. Unileven was incredibly serious as she warned. Then that's fine, Shahao laughed and said. There were just several dozen here, and it was still far being comparable to that of the rumors. He didn't have much to worry about. This grass fragrance was rich, and the plants themselves were intoxicatingly red. Shahao sat there with his legs crossed. He directly picked one and brought it to his mouth, devouring it with just a few bites. You cannot do this. Unileven became anxious, wishing to stop him. This youth was just too stubborn. I need power urgently. If I can obtain this type of ability, it will be extremely beneficial for me. Shahao said. Then, he laughed and said, the taste isn't that bad, sweet and sour. A type of spiritual berry taste. When Unileven heard this, she almost collapsed. He ate it just like that, and was even pondering its taste. He really was just too crazy. Soon after, a red light shone from Shahao's body. It swirled about the surface of his body, as if it was going to set him aflame. When he carefully observed his body, he noticed that a strange type of secret force was swirling about. Then, he ate the second stalk. Third stalk. Unileven thought of Shahao in the lower realm. She remembered that his heavenly passage was special and especially large. In addition, those 10 heavenly passages could link up together to form a divine ring. Meanwhile, this person in front of her was even more special, actually cultivating a terrifying and mysterious single heavenly passage. It was a bit unreal. She wanted to give it a try to see if it was real. She used various methods, different secret treasures, and even opened her own heavenly passages to give it a try. In the end, she was shaken. This really is a heavenly passage. Whenever she entered the heavenly passage range, she would be restricted and imprisoned. Her real appearance was even exposed, producing her true appearance. In that instant, gentle and supple purple hair shone as it scattered downwards. Unileven revealed her exceptional immortal appearance. Her forehead was sparkling white, and her eyelashes trembled slightly. Her large eyes were full of spirituality, as if she was an unmatched beauty that had walked out from a painting. Unileven immediately rushed over and said, "Hurry up and stop eating the blood soul grass." She grabbed Shahao's shoulder and forcefully shook him, truly fearing that he would suddenly die. The sparkling hair was full of luster as it scattered down onto Shahao's body. A wave of fragrance wafted through the air. Shahao looked at the girl with spotlessly white sparkling skin that was almost within reach. He thought back to his experiences in the 100 Shattering Mountains. Back then, the two of them wrestled about on the ground, and he even bit the other party's ear. He raised his hand, hinting that he was fine. His palm slid past the beautiful purple hair, inadvertently touching the other party's sparkling earlobe. Unileven was startled. She quickly backed up and stared at Shahao. When her beautiful and sensitive earlobe was touched, she was immediately shaken. She immediately thought of too many things in the past. Who are you? Unileven backed up. When her earlobe was inadvertently touched, it made her face turn red. She was a bit angry and embarrassed. At that moment, she thought of too many things, recalling that youth from the lower realm. Great waves stirred within her heart. That person's death really was too unfortunate. I am Mo 11. Shahao replied. He felt too many misgivings. If he told the other party who he was, then the celestial race would find out as well, and that might cause unwanted accidents. For some reason, Unileven always felt a sense of déjà vu when she looked at this person in front of her. He had similarly snow-white teeth and a brilliant smile. There was that completely reckless expression as well. It was too similar. Only, she knew that it was impossible for that person to reappear. He had already been dead for a year or two, buried in the great wasteland of the lower realm. You are extremely similar to someone I know. Unileven said softly. Her beautiful purple hair, sparkling white oval face, black curved eyebrows, intelligent large eyes, and bright red cherry lips made her appear extremely beautiful. There is someone like that. What clan does he come from? Is he really all that similar to me? Shahao asked. He used to be my enemy, and then later on, the grudges were dissolved. He even saved my life. That person was quite stunning, but what a pity it is in the end. Unileven shook her head. She was thinking too much. Her mind was in a state of great disorder. In the depths of the ancient battlefield, a terrifying roar sounded, cutting off her line of thought. This also startled Shahao. This was definitely not some good place. We cannot stay here any longer, Shahao said. Regardless of whether it was the danger of this demonic land, or to hide from their pursuers, they were both good reasons to leave this place. You should go first. I don't want to involve you further. Unileven expressed her thanks. Shahao saved her. If they continued to travel together, she would most likely bring onto him a great disaster. Shahao shook his head. It's already too late to leave. Those pursuers already saw me move with you and won't let me off either. The most important thing is to leave these blood plains first and escape from their pursuit. He didn't expose his identity, but he wanted to help Unileven escape this crisis. He couldn't just watch as their pursuers seized the Heaven's Mandate Stone and left her forever crippled. Shahao picked the remaining 20 or so stalks of blood soul grass, and then he went on his way along with Unileven. They rushed through this ancient battlefield and headed southward. You are still eating the strange grass. Unileven was shocked. Along the way, she noticed that Shahao continued to support the heavenly passage. His body was flickering with symbols, and there were mysterious bone texts swirling about to refine the soul grass. The taste really isn't bad, sweet and sour. It's quite fresh and tasty. Shahao had a relaxed look on his face. If there were people from the outside world here, they would definitely be stupefied. This was a fatal grass of death. How could ordinary people ingest it? It would ignite one's soul blood and explode one's flesh. One would die without the chance for even a proper burial. Unileven was extremely nervous. The other party was too stubborn. If this continued, he might die soon. This was the benefactor that saved her life, so how could she ignore this? Unileven became more and more shocked. This youth was too terrifying. His natural talents were shocking. After eating over 50 stalks of blood soul grass, he was unexpectedly unaffected, able to refine the terrifying medicinal characteristics. It would be best if I could capture an ape devil and carefully study their constitution. Only then would I be able to improve my understanding a step further. Shahao felt rather regretful. Even though he killed 6 of them, and he had studied them as well, he couldn't see through this race's true secrets. He had to catch a living one. Suddenly, a deafening roar sounded. A miserable aura covered heaven and earth as it sounded from the depths of the battlefield. It didn't seem to be that far away. Not good. Those 3 ape devils are bringing the lord of the ancient battlefield. We need to hurry and escape. Unileven understood more about this place. When she saw the figures that were rushing over in the distant mists, she felt a wave of alarm. Shahao used the dual pupil to observe them. Apart from the 3 ape demons, he saw a pure white skeleton further out that had a divine flame burning about it. It rushed over murderously with a bone sword in hand. The long roar was released precisely by this creature. It made the entire battlefield tremble. This was a roar of the soul and not a true roar, true deity. Shahao was shocked. This was a creature that surpassed the divine flame realm, which was precisely the true realm. Meanwhile, Shahao also used the lightning Dao divine ability. A pair of wings, one light and one dark, appeared behind him. Lightning coiled about as he shot into the distance. The one I knew also studied lightning precious techniques before, Unileven said. She began to develop suspicions, but she still shook her head in the end. That kind of thinking was unrealistic. I am proficient in the Thunder Sky Sparrow's precious technique, Shahao said. This was a great escape. Shahao brought Unileven into the distance, escaping over 10,000 li. They made their way through this battlefield and departed from this place. That true deity quickly stopped, not leaving those ruins. It peered through the mists into the outside world. The soul light flame continuously jumped within its eye sockets. It'll be too dangerous to head straight for Heaven Province. We should still choose an ancient battlefield and make our way through it. Otherwise, we might be found out at any time in the outside world, Shahao said. Unileven nodded. She told Shahao that they were just stalling for time right now, waiting for her clan's ancient ancestors to revive. As long as that old celestial revives, everything would be changed, from man to heaven. Is it really that terrifying? Shahao said softly. He looked towards the beautiful woman. He already knew that old celestial had once, together with 5 other experts, personally founded their clan's glorious era. They were ranked in the 10 greatest races, becoming one of the higher realm's emperor races. Soon after, they entered another ancient battlefield that was even larger, close to 50,000 li in size. After traveling quite some distance, they even discovered a heavenly deity bone. The 2 individuals sucked in a cold breath of air. One could imagine just how intense the battle back then was. Even heavenly deities were similarly helpless, dying here. The yin energy here was extremely heavy. Mists pervaded the air. There were many remains on the battlefield and even more broken weapons and precious artifacts that had long rusted or rotted, blood soul grass. Shahao was pleasantly surprised. After entering this ancient battlefield, this precious grass was his greatest harvest. He saw 6 more stalks here. Once this type of spiritual object appeared, there was no way there was only one. They existed in groups of at least 3, you really have to be careful. You can't blindly refine it. Yun11 reminded, let's go. This is my natural luck. I might really be able to obtain the magical force immunity type of divine ability. Shahao was incredibly stirred up. 2 days later, Shahao was overjoyed, and even Yun11 was shocked. They saw an expanse of dazzling red light below a bare rocky mountains. It was as if a fire was burning here. This was a whole field of blood soul grass. They shone brilliantly and resplendently. They were densely packed, forming a brightly colored and gorgeous scene. Scarlet multicolored light coiled about. There are at least 200 stalks here. Yunshi's voice was trembling. This was a great batch of wealth. If they brought this back to the outside world, it would definitely trigger quite the uproar. Do you want to eat some? We can split it 50-50. Shahao said. Yun11 shook her head and said, I won't eat it. You shouldn't take any more risks either. Then I won't be polite. Believe me, I will definitely live and obtain the ability of magical force immunity. This is my great natural opportunity. Shahao said. Shahao erupted with power. He fought a bloody battle against the 2 demons, not choosing to back off during this time. You should hurry and take this chance to escape. He secretly said to Yun11. It was because he truly wasn't confident this time, not knowing if he could win. I am not leaving. Yun11 shook her head, ready to lend a helping hand at any moment. You cannot help me. Their cultivation realms are too high and their flesh is terrifying. You cannot injure them. Shahao shouted, having her quickly escape. Yun11 took action. She didn't leave and hid in the darkness. She brought out a precious mirror and smashed it down on the ape demon's body, making it cough out large amounts of blood and stagger backwards. It almost fell straight down. Kill. Shahao roared loudly and rushed over. With his last bit of strength, his palm descended, removing this ape demon's head and ending its life. Then, he directly fell onto the ground. These 2 ape demons were too powerful, almost making him die here as well. It's good that they were killed. If one got away, they might bring other terrifying helpers. That would then be a huge disaster, Yun11 said. Shahao laughed loudly. He struggled to a seated position and then looked at the 200 or so stalks of blood soul grass. He felt that this was extremely worth it. If he could eat them all, he would most likely possess that type of world-shocking ability. This video will end here. Thank you for watching.